Farmers have been protesting for weeks against EU policies in countries across Europe. Some of the biggest protests have been in Poland, where farmers were also angry over cheaper food imports from neighbouring Ukraine. The issue has been straining relations between the two countries, which have been close partners since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Polish authorities have even accused Russia of influencing the farmer protests. DW's Christine Mhundwa reports from Poland.
We're in Grójecko-Warecki, 60 kilometers outside of Warsaw. People from this region like to think of it as Europe's biggest orchard. Mateusz Dabrowski's family has been growing apples here for a century.
Here we grow different variety of apples, like Gala, Golden Delicious, or Champion.
But business is tough these days, and Mateusz is unhappy about EU rules aimed at addressing climate change and the cheaper agricultural imports from Ukraine that are coming into the Polish market.
As a Polish farmer, speaking for myself, when it comes to the Green Deal and all this bureaucracy and the actions of the European officials, I'm certainly concerned, and one could even say more than concerned.
Anger over these issues has been growing in Poland. It's seen farmers block traffic from Ukraine at the borders. And this week, they staged this big demonstration in Warsaw.
One of our main points is to try and stop the import of food products from Ukraine. This is the first and the most important point. Unfortunately, the government doesn't want to talk to us. That's why we came to Warsaw. We want to show the power of the Polish farmers.
The farming community has been mobilizing online. Mateusz is on Facebook groups with other farmers in his region and beyond. But the government says it is on alert over possible Russian infiltration in the process through social media.
I'm sure that Putin and his people are very active in Europe, and they take advantage of such protests. It's enough to take your phone and start reading comments on the platform X or Facebook. Even on my own phone, I see how many comments are made by the fake accounts.
Independent observers are also concerned.
What Russian propaganda does in our countries, Poland included, is they are infiltrating our narrative, our social media, our public discussion and public debate, putting into it radical statements which play with our emotions.
Authorities are investigating some anti-Ukraine and pro-Russia slogans that have been spotted in recent demonstrations. Mateusz says those are not his fellow farmers.
Certainly, no Polish farmer who cares, as I believe, will make demands that directly attack Ukraine and support Putin.
Atakują bezpośrednio Ukrainę czy wspierają Putina.
Poland has been one of Ukraine's biggest backers in the EU, but the issue with the farmers is causing tensions between Kyiv and Warsaw.
This report by Christine Mhundwa, who joins us now from the Polish capital, Warsaw. Christine, what can be said about the Russian influence in the protests of the Polish farmers? Have you seen any evidence?
Well, Gerhard, I can tell you that authorities here in Poland are convinced that Russian trolls have infiltrated social media, are feeding disinformation to farmers. As the official told me, the Deputy Agriculture Minister, they've observed that there are fake accounts on the platforms Facebook and X. These accounts are disseminating sort of conspiracy theories, disinformation specifically targeted at farmers who are protesting. There have been some incidents at demonstrations. One in particular is being investigated where a farmer had a poster on his tractor explicitly encouraging the Russian President Vladimir Putin to finish Ukraine. This raised alarm here in Poland. That particular incident and other related ones are being being investigated. So there is absolutely no doubt on the part of Polish authorities that Russian influence has made its way into these protests, hence some of the extremist views that some farmers are expressing at these demonstrations.
Now, can you give us an update on the protests? What are the main demands of the protesters?
Well, Gerhard, farmers I've spoken to here say they simply want a ban on all Ukrainian produce coming into Poland. They also are very angry over the European Union's Green Deal, where there are ambitious, of course, carbon emissions targets that affect their business. They want an amendment to that. The farmer that I spoke to, Mateusz, in that report says, look, I understand climate change. It affects what I do here as well. But the rules as they are just make my business simply unsustainable. So they want a revision over that. Today, the Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, is going to be meeting with farmer groups. Ahead of that meeting last night, he said that Poland was in negotiations with Ukraine and that they had discussed the possibility of temporarily closing the border. But Kyiv officials almost immediately denied that any conversations had been taking place. As it stands, the European Union has extended the arrangement that allows imports from Ukraine into the European Union without any restrictions. But the Polish authorities are trying to get some kind of a deal with the Ukrainians where they can at least limit some of the produce coming in. I have to tell you that already Poland has banned grain exports, but it's other agricultural products that are creating tensions here. And I can tell you now the tensions between Warsaw and Ukraine over this issue are heightening. There is a lot of back and forth, ministers issuing statements that seem to contradict what the other capital is saying.
DW correspondent Christine Mhundwa there reporting from the Polish capital, Warsaw. Thank you very much, Christine.